Asaph is this famous psalmist who lived about the same time that King David did. And Asaph and David wrote most of the Psalms in your Bible. And Asaph is the guy who writes this song. Now, we don't know Psalm. It's probably late in his life when he writes this. And maybe he's writing it from the perspective of a grandparent. And he's trying to convince his children and their children. He's trying to convince Israel to pass their faith on to other generations too. And he says, look, you start out by passing on parables and you start out by passing on stories. Now, you probably understand. The earliest writers of your Bible were Job. Probably the first book ever written in the Bible was the book of Job, written before Abraham was ever alive. And then Moses. And Moses wrote those first 5 books of the Bible. And Moses is the one who really wrote down for the children of Israel who God is and what God is like and the laws that God gave his people on Mount Sinai. Okay, if you were a descendant of Abraham or if you were a descendant of Adam before Moses ever wrote his book, before Job ever recorded what happened in Job's life, how did you know about God? How did you learn about God, and where did you go to find information about who God was and what he was like? You went to your parents, and your parents taught you stories when they were growing up. You know, the Sunday school stories that all of us heard when we were growing up. Your parents taught you these, and they taught you them in forms of parables, which were like these stories, these human stories that you and I would all recognize, but they have a very deep and a very significant meaning. And your parents, where did they learn those stories from? They learned them from the generation in front of them, and the entire understanding of God was passed on from generation to generation by word of mouth. And that's the way God wanted it to be. God still wants it to be that way. Though you teach your child or a grandchild to read, he still wants parents and grandparents to pass your faith on by word of mouth. He wants you to tell the next generation what God has done in your life.